Hi, my name's Eric Miller, and I came here today to talk about a very sad and serious subject that's very near and dear to my heart. But instead, this idiot showed up. So what did you get your grubby little paws on this time? Well, today I've got the super cool 9mm Daewoo DP51 with the fast action trigger system. What the? I mean, what? Where do you keep getting these things? South Korea? This is the commercial version of the Korean military's former sidearm, the K5. It has a high cap, 13-round magazine with 3-dot sights, but what makes this gun extra special is the triple action trigger system. And what the flapjack is a triple action trigger? Well, this gun has your standard single action and double action trigger, but in addition to that, it also has a fast action trigger. Do you just make this stuff up to get attention? I mean, what is wrong with you? Well, the fast action trigger is a proprietary system exclusive to Daewoo, and it's really nifty. This gun was intended for military use, so as an example, let's say we were going to load it and carry it into combat. This is how it would work. You put the mag in, put a little slide, and chamber around. This gun is now ready to fire in single action. It's a little dangerous to put a gun in this condition directly into your holster, so what do? You just push the hammer forward, which in turn sent the trigger forward as well. Now, it looks like I just decocked this gun, but I didn't. I put it in fast action mode. The hammer spring is still compressed, so all it takes to put this gun back into single action is just a light tap on the trigger. So, while it looks like it's in double action mode, it only takes the force of a single action trigger pull to fire the gun. That means an easy, accurate shot right out of the holster. That looks kind of dangerous with you pushing the hammer down onto the firing pin like that. Does it have any safeties? Yes, actually it's got two. It's got a hammer block and a firing pin block. The first one prevents the hammer from hitting the firing pin, and the other keeps the firing pin from traveling forward unless the trigger is pulled. So throwing the hammer forward like this while the gun is loaded is pretty safe. Does that little safety lever there do anything too? Yeah, this is kind of a nifty one that disengages the trigger from the hammer. It's easy to operate, ambidextrous, and it works in all three modes. So, like in the earlier example, let's say we were going to carry the gun loaded, but with the safety on, it would work like this. You load the gun, put the hammer forward and into your holster, and you can engage the safety during any of these steps. It really doesn't matter. Then to use it, pull it out, safety comes off, boom, it's ready to go in single action. Nifty. So what does the trigger feel like? Well, it's pretty good. It's very similar to my Walthers in that there's a little bit of take-up and then a clean snap. It's a bit heavier than my Walthers, but it's still pretty nice. But what about the double action trigger? Well, it's fairly heavy but smooth, but it really doesn't matter since it's very unlikely you'll ever fire it in double action. What you talking about? I can fire it in double action anytime I want. Can't I? Well, actually you can't. Once you load the gun, the hammer has been cocked, and it can't be decocked unless you manually lower the hammer while the gun is loaded, which I generally don't recommend. So you can either fire it immediately right then on single action, or put the hammer forward and then it's in fast action mode, which is basically single action. Well, wait, why does it even have a double action trigger at all then? Well, aside from manually lowering the hammer onto a live round, the only other way I can think of to get the gun to fire in double action is if there's a misfire. The hammer goes down but the round doesn't go off, and therefore the slide doesn't reset the hammer. So the double action trigger on this gun is there basically as a second strike capability. If it didn't go off the first time, maybe it'll go off the second time. Ah, it looks big. Yeah, it does kinda. I mean, while it is a good-sized gun, it doesn't feel meaty or beefy like a lot of other full-size pistols do. It has a very comfortable grip, it's not too wide, and it points very well. It also has this really heavy-duty aluminum alloy frame, which makes the whole gun feel a lot lighter than it looks. Man, I swear that thing looks familiar. Well, that's probably because it's based off a Smith & Wesson design. In fact, while Daewoo made 10 and 13 round mags for this gun, it will also accept 14 round Smith & Wesson 5906 mags. But as you can see, they stick out a bit from the bottom. But seeing as 13 round Daewoo mags are really expensive and hard to get a hold of, I think this is a perfectly acceptable alternative. And as a side note, the sheet metal from these Smith & Wesson mags is quite a bit thicker than these Daewoo mags. So can we please see you shooting this thing already? Yeah, let's rock and roll. Well, it didn't explode. Yeah, I really like the way it shoots. It's only 9mm, but it feels like a much bigger gun when you shoot it. How easy is it to get parts for this thing? Small parts like springs and grips and extractors and firing pins and stuff like that are pretty easy to get a hold of on the internet. Big parts like a barrel, for example, would be just about impossible to get here in the US since Daewoo doesn't import this gun here anymore and the South Korean military doesn't use this gun anymore, so I don't know if they're even making it at all now. So it's buyer beware. A bit. The good thing is, though, that this is an extremely solid and well-made gun that you can pick up for a fairly low price, usually below $300. Yeah, that sounds fantastic, Eric. Are we done yet? Well, I believe we are, Eric. Wow. Being stupid must really teach you a lot of things. That it does, Eric. Stay safe and have fun, kids.